Everybody, thank you very much for joining us again, the second podcast for the UAE game developers. Once again, we're focusing on bringing the growth of the game development industry to the UAE. And one of the ways we do this is by talking to people all over the industry and in different industries that are kind of related to game dev, to kind of explore different topics, have a discussion, and network a little bit. And this day, I've got an extraordinary gentleman with me who has a unique insight into game dev and different industries. And maybe, hopefully today, you'll learn a little bit about his journey and get some advice on what you can kind of look into next. And if not, you just enjoy our voices for the next 40 minutes, 30 minutes. So without any further ado, I'm gonna welcome Mohamed Nasr with 4 questions. So who are you? What do you do? What's your favorite game of all time and why, crucially? And what game are you playing now? And what do you like about it?
All right. Hi, how are you? Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's lovely to meet you. My name is Mohamed Nasr. Thank you for the introduction. It was very kind. I come from a little bit of a different background. I used to be a doctor, and then I transitioned into healthcare tech and software engineering, and then AI. There's a lot of stuff in the middle, so kind of just gotta skip that. And now I'm transitioning into game development,
Mhm.
specifically on Unreal Engine.
More on that later.
More on that later. And my favorite game of all time is, I have to say, God of War 2018.
Okay, why?
That's
Why is that?
Well, it kind of blended in the cinematic and storytelling aspect of what a game can do, and
Mhm.
it did it so well with a lot of impactful moments. And the gameplay was from my opinion, flawless. I think that is still the best game I've ever played so far.
See, for me, I know this is more of your favorite game, which is great. I know God of War is an amazing game, and I know that there's a lot in it, but I've never played it. I know, I know.
Okay. Well, it was very nice to meet you.
And I want to play it. I've got a series of games I want to get my hands on, but whenever you get older, you just don't have the time anymore. So hopefully in the future we can have a little bit of God of War. But so that's your favorite game. But what game are you playing currently that is great? On what do you like about this?
Well, at the moment, I'm not playing anything, but I will tell you the last one I just finished recently, and I came late to that. I know that it's been a global phenomena, but Elden Ring, that I started late. I was very busy. I couldn't get the time. But yeah, Elden Ring was the last thing I played.
Why would you
And
recommend it? Because I also haven't played that yet either.
wow, man. Okay, fair enough. Well, Elden Ring is a very special kind of game. It kind of blended in perfectly the Souls genre. Everybody will say basically what I'm saying, so it's kind of a global opinion on this part. And then introduced a massive open world. The best thing about it is that there's almost little to no hand-holding whatsoever,
Mhm.
and you're kind of just, left to explore on your own. I think it never really hit me how big this game is until a specific part. I'm not going to spoil it for you, so you can play it yourself.
Okay.
Until you hit a certain point and you realize that you just opened a whole other area in the map, which is just filled with, things to do. I think it was a brilliantly done game.
Yeah, I've
Maybe my
heard some
second
amazing.
favorite. Yeah.
I've heard some amazing things that the world of it is just so in depth and so, like you said, you're getting used to something, and then all of a sudden there's an
Yeah.
entire there's an entire world within a world. But yeah, Elden Ring, although I haven't played it, and I have never actually played any of the Souls type of games, um, I've heard some really good things, and the Elden Ring kind of wants me to dip my toe into these genres of games.
Yeah,
Um,
it's weird because when as the technology progresses, you're thinking that every game you'll play will look amazing,
mm,
but not just that. There will you at least you're expecting there will be some motion capture, there will be very good animations, There will be facial animations, details, things, colors, stuff like that. And then you go into Elden Ring and realize that the majority of face animations are just not there, and
Hmm.
they don't really care about that. But the gameplay is superb. The way it's been built as from the gameplay perspective is just unparalleled, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's obviously it's got AAA graphics, but like you said, there's some things where it doesn't have those AAA standards of graphics in terms of animations, but it just shows that you don't need all the time to have AAA graphics. Obviously, if you're having a Call of Duty single player storyline or something like this, then yes, you need to have these graphics, but you can create an amazing game with a good gameplay loop that doesn't have the top-notch graphics that will still get this
It
this attention.
it actually does have that AAA graphics everywhere, except when it comes
Oh,
to face animations and, well, specific interactions with your character. It's mostly just you interacting with the mask on or something.
I
Even when you're
see.
showing your face, there's little things to see when someone is talking, for example. So you gotta pick up on these small details that they didn't focus on, but you
Hmm.
can see why, because they focus so much on a lot of the other content, and the results are just
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. That's again my opinion. Maybe you will play it and you will be like, "Meh."
I hate this thing, but no, I think
Yeah,
I think I'll like it.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's Mohamed Nasr, everybody. Loves God of War. Currently playing Elden Ring. A little bit of background into his life, but let's go a little bit more personal. Let's dive into the true Mohamed Nasr. So you, I would call you a successful businessman, and you've set up
Let's hope.
a few companies. Um, and with game dev, unfortunately, it's not just I'm going to make a game and upload it to Steam or Itch or the Google Play, and it's going to blow up. That's not how it works, unfortunately. There's a lot of business behind it. So, can you give us a little bit of insight on how your experience in setting up a business and most crucially launching a product can be used in game dev?
Sure. So game dev is a lot more complicated than launching any software product generally. So I've done the software product part, and over the years I've worked on a lot of different products over different industries. But setting up a company and creating a team and actually working with other people over time, it's it kind of teaches you how to structure yourself. Or sometimes when you're also the founder or one of the founders, it puts you in a position where you have to learn things, hit the ground running very fast. You don't
Mhm.
have time to breathe. And when you're in the startup scene, there is almost no time for
Yeah.
anything. So I think that would be something that I can transition into game dev as well, or what I'm trying to do with game dev. But the experience of building a game and launching it is very different than building a specific product. So, for example, one of the products that we kind of developed over the years, it goes through the conceptual phase and then the actual design and then development, and then you can launch a beta version and then you can go to market as long as you can hit production time. But that time frame can be very small depending on the product.
Yeah.
But when it comes to games, you really have to have a long,
Yeah.
long endurance cycle that you can go through this for years until you can launch a game. Perhaps that's the most accurate differences, or again, from my perspective.
So yeah, I think you've summed it up perfectly that the game dev scene, you have to have trust in your end products, because yeah, you can probably get some seed money and some publishers and stuff like this, but at the end of the day, you need to launch a product to get some money to continue launching launch your product. But do you have any like tips in how we can transition some of these in real life cheat codes into creating a product in game dev? So like, here's our tip on like should we use freelancers? Should we use local stuff? Should we have full-time contracts? Should we do lots of different things? What kind of hidden tips do you think there are that could be used from creating a product to into game dev?
Okay, so when creating a product like a software product, you can depend on freelancing, you can depend on contractors, you can depend on outsourcing part of the work. That you can depend on even from the beginning of the project itself. Like, for
Mhm.
example, if you don't have a design team on hand and you're starting up with a small development team, you can essentially outsource the entire design process into to another agency or to a couple of freelancing opportunities or whatever happens then. But in game dev, and this is also part of the things when I sat down with my current team that's going into game dev, and we were planning what we will do next. And we were thinking what are our resources and what can we, and we're all coming from different experiences, but
Yeah.
we've all launched successful businesses. So when you're thinking, what do you need? Who will be the team member who will do that? And what can we outsource? The word what can we outsource from the beginning is very, very, very difficult in game dev. First of all, you have to have a team on the ground that will take you through the entire journey. Having having to outsource something critical from the beginning can get you into a lot of trouble later on
Hmm.
into that timeline. Second, it's like I said, you have to take a deep breath and dive. And if you're doing that without the right team, it will just be very difficult. Also, a lot of solo developers, they see success stories like Stardew Valley, one of the very, very famous ones, and they want to do the same thing. They want to create a game that they can do solo and they can finish it and they can publish it, and again, they can at least build on that cycle until they have a studio. This is possible. It's not impossible. However, it is very, very, very difficult, especially if you have a full-time job. So even scheduling our work schedule between me and the other team members, while the majority of us have daytime jobs or have daytime activities that they're doing, that is very difficult to do in real life.
Hmm.
You have to really commit. If you're committing to 2 hours a day after your work, do it. Come hell or high water, you will have to do it.
Yeah.
So I think commitment is very, very important. Depending on outside resources, it's possible in small things, but I wouldn't recommend it in the beginning of a game dev journey, specifically if this is your first or your first time as a team developing a
Hmm.
game. And finding the right people who can be on board, not just for an idea, but they need to believe in that idea very much. That's where you can, well,
Yeah.
this hopefully where you can have a success story.
Yeah, I think that's the issue with game dev. Although everyone, we want to encourage people to make projects. At the same time, you got to be realistic. Um, Having these one in a billion Stardew Valleys, unfortunately, in the real world is unlikely. So you got to work with your resources and what scope you have. And one of the main things about game dev is just get something launched.
Yep.
It's okay if if you want to say, okay, for my first game, I'm going to make an MMORPG, a massive multiplayer
Sure.
RPG, and it's
Why
like,
not?
yeah, it's like, yeah, you've launched one game on Android and you're by yourself. It's nice to have dreams, 100%. It's nice to have aspirations, but you don't want to burn yourself out. And like you say, when you're coming home after your full-time job, you want to have a passion project that you want to work on, that you can actually see the end. You touched on something very interesting. It was if you're outsourcing, it can be quite risky because the different way people do things, and you need to have that core vision, the main structure locally. I think one of the issues for this is learning. May have all learned game dev through different ways: university, self-taught, YouTube videos, online courses from a friend. Um, but I know that you've had the opportunity to work with Incas, INCAS, which
Yes.
are focused on Unreal. Now I personally use Unity, and whenever I was learning game dev, is always Unreal versus Unity, and Python. Um, but unfortunately, Unreal is getting really big. Unreal has a lot of stuff. Um, but can you tell us a little bit about some of the lessons that you've learnt in game dev, working through and with Incas in the EMEA and the UAI Academy, which is
Yep.
kind of actually, you know what? I'm gonna let you do it. You explain what it is and tell us what they're doing and how they could be used to teach people the correct way to yeah, I'm gonna say correct way to make a product.
Okay. Well, Incus has been very generous in this part. They're one of the premier partners for Epic or with Epic generally. And they do offer actually a lot of things other than Unreal Engine, but the focus on my interaction with them was with Unreal Engine.
Mhm.
And they do this Summer of Unreal kind of cycle every year, and it's pretty massive. And where they do an actual full-on course with a capstone project through the summer. But I didn't catch on to that part because I was a little bit late on applying. So they graciously accepted me into their EMEA initiative. And that initiative was targeted to essentially maximize or increase Unreal awareness and usage and training into the EMEA region. So which includes, of course, Middle East. And from there, we kind of transitioned after that some of us who were in Summer of Unreal and some of us who were in EMEA initiative into what they call the UAI Academy, which is essentially Unreal Authorized Instructor Academy, which takes you into a more in-depth look on how to be an instructor in Unreal. So it gives you kind of a different perspective on how you should do things and how you should think as an
Mhm.
instructor, not as a simply a user. And throughout this journey, I learned a lot, really. They've had a wonderful team and they were very patient with me and with everybody who was involved in the program. I think the most important thing that I learned was, first of all, it depends on which part. The EMEA initiative was from me learning to use Unreal perspective,
Mhm.
and the UAI Academy was for me and others also to learn how to teach others. So in terms of learning how to use Unreal, that was absolutely brilliant. Because before that, like essentially, I think throughout 2022, I was going through a lot of courses, going through a lot of YouTube videos, as you mentioned, but there wasn't something that was fully structured to take you
Yeah.
from A to Z and do it in a more like, okay, we're going to go into depth and we're going to go into, how to actually create a product. There is some lovely courses on Udemy, but I didn't find them as engaging as doing a live class with someone who was, actually teaching you where you can ask and answer in real life. That value was absolutely insane. And then after that in the UA Academy, learned we learned a lot, but mainly working as a team and working in how to explain something to someone, it gives you a very different perspective. So whether you're doing a full-on game studio where we have to teach others to work with us in the team, because not everybody's coming from an Unreal background.
Yes.
Respect to Unity,
Yep.
by the way. It's all good. It's just that it's for me at least, it's a
Different.
little bit of a different use case.
Yes.
If depending on what I'm creating, that's what I will use. But not everybody's coming on from the same background. So taking someone who's coming from a C++ development background and
Mm.
plugging it into Unreal, there's a learning curve. And everybody has a different learning curve depending on their background as well. So I think that's one of the things that we also learned in the UAI Academy. And after that, you kind of learn how to go deeper into Unreal, that you realize that there's so much that it can offer, but it's not always right there on the
The face level of
front
things.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you Google Unreal Engine, you will probably run into maybe 50 game development wise videos or whatever. And then if you actually want to learn Unreal, though, there's a lot of other things it can do. Architectural visualization, the car configurator thing. There's so
Yeah.
many things that you can do with it. So as a tool, it doesn't have any specific limits. And that was where our focus was, to realize the entire potential of it as a really, really amazing platform. From a game development perspective, I think the majority of it that we learned how to work together and how to have patience with each other as a team. And that was very, very important.
Wow. So that's a lot.
Yeah, it was very
How
intense.
that's intense. But I love it. I think it's very important, like exactly what you said, that you're looking deeper into something. You learn how to work with people. And, I come from an education background, and if you're able to actually teach something, you know it. So with this initiative, the academy, sorry, the UAI Academy, the authorized academic instructors, unreal,
Hang
unreal.
on, Unreal Authorized Instructor
As
Academy.
close,
Yeah.
as close, as close.
Yeah, but honestly, actually, one of the main things I got to meet a wonderful group of people who were now interacting together outside of even this context, and we're very good friends, and we're trying to launch different projects together, and that was amazing value when you find someone who is thinking on the same prospect and thinking in the same way that you are, and well, they kind of also taught us how to kind of structure a course. It's
Yeah.
very important, and not a lot of people realize this part until you get really deep into it. When you want to create a YouTube channel or you want to create a course on Udemy or something, the structure of the course matters so much
Yeah.
that it's not just how you say it, how you tell it, and how you're showing on the screen, but how to actually structure something that it will stick to someone's head, that it will be interactive for them, that they will remember this experience and that they will actually put it into production. That's of
Mhm.
its own value. So overall, it was a wonderful year, really. I had a blast. It
Good.
was awesome.
I'm interested in knowing a little bit about what you and your friends are doing with what you've learned. Because I think from what you've briefly told me, you're taking it to the next stage and you're trying
Yeah.
to, go global with this. Give me a little bit more information about what you and your mates are doing.
Well, first of all, like I said, they're a wonderful group. Hopefully you'll get to meet them. Some of them are
Inshallah.
coming here into UAE. Yeah. So you'll get to meet them definitely. Well, we're trying to take the experience that we learned from all of this, a training platform that will be spanning across different countries. So we will try to include, of course, UAE is one of them, and we'll try to include physical, actual learning locations and online live courses, as well as a YouTube channel as well to kind of put it all into perspective.
Yeah.
But I think because the live courses are very, very important, and in the region there aren't that many live face-to-face courses that cover Unreal. There's a couple, they're very
Yeah.
good, but again, the more the better. So
Okay.
that's
Okay.
essentially what we're trying to
So,
do now.
so the the tech and game dev is continuously developing. Like you said with Unreal, a lot of people just scratch the surface with game dev and they don't fully look at um, the ins and outs of tech. Like it's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
That although we're into game dev, I know that there's about 90% of things that I haven't touched that can be done. And from my educational background, I know that education is behind in teaching products or not products, teaching new tech and stuff like this. Um, but I'm just curious how, and as you said as well, the UAE has very little of these initiatives that we're, obviously this is one of them that we're trying to start up. Um, but how do you plan to like incorporate this quick advancing tech into into your training programs, really, to keep people up to date, to give them the tools they need to dive deeper into these here game engines, really?
Well, okay, that's a little bit of a difficult question because honestly, the best way for you to keep up with something like the tech used in game dev or anything really is to, well, care enough to do it.
Yeah.
So for example, one of the most things I've learned, or maybe the most intensive resource I learned were the conferences or the sessions given through Game Developer Conference, the GDC over the years. They go into very deep details on how things are done into AAA games that we played, and
Mm,
you get to see how the team behind it thought of the process.
yeah.
As in, that's an invaluable resource.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
off and it's offered for free. So that's what I'm planning to do as well. Part of the process that I'm trying to also include in what we're trying to do is to have a lot of free content that is done even on live basis. And I wanted it to be free, not everything, because we actually have to, live off
Yeah,
of
yeah,
this
yeah.
process. But there is a lot of things that we can actually offer for free and pass on the knowledge. The majority of my career, I learned what I learned from the beginning before I went into masters for the software engineering was through self-learning. And I did this by using the resources available online, and the majority of them were for free.
Hmm.
And because of their availability, people hear more, they're more interested, they're getting more information. So if you offer this and you offer support with it, you get people who are going to take this forward, who are going to be loyal to the cause of spreading information and actually, developing on what they learn and taking it into the next level. So if someone is interested, they will move it forward.
Mm.
And the most importantly, it's part of our role as the people who learned. By the way, the entire Incas thing I said wasn't paid.
Yeah.
And the main reason was to increase and maximize, knowledge. And they gave us time of day, time in answering questions,
Yeah.
interactions. And this is what made us take the next step and push forward more, because we were thinking even internally, okay, I'm getting this information. It's massive information. I'm getting someone who will sit there for 7 hours and teach me a topic and answer every question I have with so much patience. Was thinking, and pretty much I think everybody is always thinking the same thing. I'm not going to waste this opportunity. I'm going to
Yeah.
take this knowledge and do something with it. And I'm going to keep up to date on what happens next. So the best thing we can do is just spread the knowledge.
Yeah.
No,
And that's perfect. Going back to the GDC thing, I mean, yeah, it's an invaluable resource to understand how something's actually created. I watched this one, and it was about like the old Mario games, how they only had like 64 kilobits of memory, like 64 kilobits,
yeah, no.
do you know what I mean? Like an image on your phone is a couple of meg or even more.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you look at Mario, the clouds and the bushes are the exact same sprite. They're just different colors. And there's lots of these tricks that developers had to do to use every bit of resource they have. And developers still use tricks. And there's there's so many. But like you said, one of the best ways having that resource in which you can talk to people and ask them questions. And that's one of the reasons we're creating this group. But I want to give a little bit of a plug to my old university lecturer. His name is Dr. Tommy Thompson. If he's going to listen to this, he's going to hate the fact that I've referred to him as doctor. He absolutely hates it. But he runs a channel called AI in Games on YouTube, and it's bloody amazing. It really is. Like he talks about how AI works in different games. And one of his best ones was the Alien versus Predator games. Have you played that before?
The ages ago, yeah.
Yeah, so I played it once on VR, never again. It was too scary for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But he talks about like how AI properly works, and he explains to you us as game devs the process to go through to get the AI and different mechanics working. And it's like you said, I think in the UAE and these courses and academies and lessons, it's having the put it beautifully, having somebody who will give you the time of day
Yeah.
and will be there to support you and answer your questions. Um,
It's kind
but
of I think everybody needs to think about it from a perspective of pay it forward,
yeah,
You've got a lot of information during your years by looking up some other work done by other people.
yeah,
And they gave there's this experience. One of the GTC talks, by the way, it was I'm sorry if I'm not remembering this correctly because I watched it like maybe a year ago. So it was if you remember Ghost of Tsushima.
yes,
It's an absolutely gorgeous game. And one of the things was how the grass was created and how it's actually moving and why, or how they did it in a specific way to make the variety of different grass in that game. And it was one of the things that really stood out. And the one of the team members behind it, they gave such a detailed lecture, 45 minutes of exactly how they did it.
On
They
grass.
gave so much details that you can actually go home and do it just like
Uh-huh.
they did by recreating what he said. And it was that kind of experience that we need to repeat, and we need to make sure people repeat, because if you're done something right, there is no reason to hold information. There is no reason
Yeah.
for you to not share the experience. And when you do that, you're paying it forward, and that person will come back and, and maybe work with you on a project. Maybe they will be grateful for you for something, and, you'll work together
Mhm.
somehow. So it's that mentality, I think, is the best way to push forward, development really of any kind.
I completely agree. 100%. Like, but I've never seen it the way you said a minute ago that, we have learned from free YouTube videos and courses, and we've asked people questions, and like, it's all free.
Yeah.
Um, you've learned from someone for free, pay it on for free. But yeah, let's try and center it a little bit more on around the UAE, because we can talk for years on
Yeah.
on everything. Um, so we're talking about having people that will give you the time of day. Um, and the UAE industry is still in game dev is still, I wouldn't even say it's a teenager. I say it's a toddler. It's just running around screaming, doesn't really fully know where it's at yet. Um, but what resources are available in the UAE for game devs, and where can they find these communities to network, interact with, get ideas, work together? Do you have any insight on this?
Well, one would be the group you created on LinkedIn is how we met, and how we met the other guys as well. I
Thank
think
you.
it was a brilliant initiative, really, because we needed to know who else is out there
Yeah,
who's
you're not
into
alone.
game development. You're not alone, exactly. As far as UAE is concerned, there is such a good support for tech in general. I'm actually sitting now in one of the buildings that was specifically created for that purpose, to support younger entrepreneurs. And that was the first company I created here in, oh God,
Long time
I would
ago.
say I would say years ago, and just let it go. So
Oh, here's a gray
um,
hair.
yeah, well, I kind of like, I have it short now, but there's a lot of gray hairs, trust me. So so yeah, there's a lot of support out there. I was also part of it was a brilliantly done, still is. It was Mohamed bin Rashid Innovation Fund. It was an
Mhm.
accelerator program, kind of backed by Ministry of Finance, but was back then it was run by EY. And it was I got to meet one of the most brilliant people I've ever met, and they taught us a lot. And it was this kind of thing. This exists a lot in UAE, and they are everybody. I think every organization is supporting. Pitch an idea,
Yeah.
pitch a project. If you have an MVP, you basically you can just go into one of the accelerators and you can connect with ventures and funding and everything. Even here in the building I'm in, as I was saying, it's called DTech, and Dubai Technology Entrepreneur Campus now, and they have this whole venture sandbox program. It's brilliant as well. So if you are looking for support in the tech space, which by default includes game development,
Yeah.
you don't have to look very far for support. It is offered. It is many organizations do offer that. Perhaps game development itself is a little bit more tricky than a specific software product, and this is where the problem comes in. And this is where maybe specific support for game developers, which I think already exists in Abu Dhabi, but
Yeah.
I'm more Dubai centered, so I know more of the market here. That's where this is necessary. In a software product or even a hardware product, or IoT, whatever you're doing, you can actually create an MVP with a very small team. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
MVP, for anybody who's listening and doesn't know the term, it's a minimal viable product. So you can create an MVP with a very small team, and then from there you can go into different accelerators, you can go into different programs, you can get support, you can get funding, and you can scale it up into a full production and you can go to market. But in game development, you're kind of stuck. Getting an
Yeah.
MVP isn't even possible within the first couple of years.
And this
It's
this is
you
the
can
thing. Sorry to interrupt. I want to clarify as well. Like in game dev, we call it a vertical slice. An MVP is not a vertical slice. A vertical slice is what you create, and then you start working on your MVP. So sorry
yeah.
to interrupt. I just wanted to
No,
clarify
no,
that.
that's very accurate. Yeah. So you can create like if you can create a vertical slice and then go work, fine. But it takes so much
Yeah.
effort to and so much work and a much bigger team to create a proper MVP. Or actually in game development, there is no MVP. You literally just have to create part of the game in
Yes.
order for it to make sense. And it was one of the things that even if it's heavily advised that even if you're trying to target some publishers, it's very rarely okay to go with an idea and a game loop. You actually do have to have something, and it cannot be just blocks
Yep. You
and
need to
just,
have art, audio, programs, different systems. You need
yeah.
people. It's difficult to do it by yourself.
Yeah. And you need time. So maybe this is one of the things, but it's by the nature of the industry itself that it's difficult
Mhm.
to fund something like this based on an idea unless you have a very solid track record in that industry. So I am not sure if there is a specific solution, but I would say if you do have an idea for a game, if you at least have a minimal team that will get you off the ground with a POC, with a proof of concept, you have a solid documentation of what you're trying to do, and you have a very, very clear vision, go ahead, approach different accelerators, approach different ventures. You will be, at the least, you will be exposed to different experiences and you will get to
Yes.
hear feedback, which is very
Yes.
important. And at the best case scenario, someone will fund you. Someone will actually, say, all right, I believe in this. You have a solid team. Let's move it forward. It happened many times. It will happen again. And, let's go do it. Go for it.
Yeah, I think the issue with game dev is like it's very hard for a developer to say, okay, I'm finished.
Yeah.
That's it. And you'll keep on, yeah, you need an MVP. You need to show something off and get ideas and feedback. But the developer has to say, right, okay, I'm finished. This is my MVP. Let's go and demo it. But I think a lot of the times developers, oh, I can fix that little thing. Let's add this feature. Let's change this. And it's never just right. And putting a little bow in the end is difficult. So I think us as developers have to sometimes take a step back and be like, what you've created is impressive. Let's show the world. Um,
And by the way, you said something in the beginning, which is very important. If you're developing a game, my friend, finish it. Whatever
yes,
it takes, finish it. Get something off the ground. Publish something, even if it's for free on
itch.
itch.io or anything, whatever. Finish it, get it off the ground. Believe me, the moment you're done with a product, even if it's not perfect, but just being done with a product, seeing the whole cycle through and actually seeing it in real life, getting feedback, completely and utterly worth it.
Yeah.
I went through my first venture, my first basically software. Right now it's on version 7. What do you think the first 6 versions look like?
Yeah, yeah. It's never finished. And there'll be a
Yeah,
version 8 and a
it
version
yeah, of
9 and
course, definitely. But for version 1 was tiny, and I learned from that. Then version 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and so on. You learn every time you launch one version of it. You will learn in game development. Launch it and then move on to a completely other product. But
yes.
learn,
Yes, yes, yes.
learn from what happened.
And keep your game small in scope. Think of a small idea, a fun, cool little idea, and build something. The scope is a major issue, I think, and sometimes. But at the same time, on the flip side, don't pump out a million of asset flips.
Yes,
Assets are fine to use. It's completely fine, but don't make it the focus of your game. If your game, I'm just thinking of a silly idea right now. If your game is focused around racing cars, you make sure that you've created the script to race cars. You don't just download an asset, plug and play. That's not how you create games. Um,
And
yeah,
just and to add to what you said, you're absolutely right. It's one of the things that indie studios also make as a big mistake in the beginning is think to, okay, we're going to create the next God of War. No, you're not. No offense, but it took what? A team of 400
Yeah.
developers, developers, designers, and writers, everybody. And
Everything
it took them, what, 5, 6 years
with millions of
with
dollars.
with millions of dollars. And it took them
Yeah.
also, the experience of the entire industry almost behind them. They all started ages ago. They have massive experience. And it took them all of this. And if you listen to their devlogs and if you listen to their interviews, they were as nervous as we were
Yeah.
launching anything. Even with all of this behind them and all this massive support, they're massively nervous about it. And it took them all this time. And even as well as I do, so many games, they poured so much effort, money, time, everything. And at the end, massive failure because, it just didn't work out. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's okay for something not to work out. It's okay. We're all human. Everybody works and, sometimes you do your best and it just doesn't come out exactly as you plan. You're not going to go and delete the past 4 or 5 years of your life. But just think realistically. If you're trying to launch a game, that's amazing. Do it, but be realistic in the scope. Know your limitations. Unless you're dedicating full time to this, know that you have a job, you have, family, you have other responsibilities, and plan out your development accordingly. So get that off the ground and then go into the second project. And over time, you will find that you just, you gain the experience and you're good to go.
I think, I think a great idea is game jams.
Game jams.
The game jams. The traditional game jam is 48 hours, which I've done a few game jams in my past, and I've literally stayed up for 48 hours staring at a screen, and it's not fun. But they're pretty cool memories. I would suggest, in this day and age, I understand people work and stuff like this. Think of a project that will take maybe a month, because it allows you to understand these different things in game dev. And this is the issue. People don't fully understand the ins and outs. Like if we look at Master Chief behind me, Master Chief, my favorite character of all time. Whenever we're playing the game of Halo or whatever, you don't realize that this 3D model has thousands of vertices. It's been textured and retextured to be absolutely pristine. The animations and the physics, all these things for a character it's a lot. But whenever you learn these different tools, like say, for example, you want to create a game that focuses on animation, you learn an animation. Well, next time you can include that in your next project. So start small, keep your scope decent, not tiny, not huge. And like you said, it is okay to fail. Now we're talking about all these different skills, lots of skills to be had. And I think we need to talk a little bit more on to skills to start with, and what skills are you need for game dev, and especially in the region, in the UAE, there's different skills that someone can focus on. And you want to be an artist, you want to be an audio SFX guy or girl, and maybe you want to look into multiplayer. Lots of different aspects of game dev. And I know I've kind of went on a tangent.
It's fine.
But what skills do you think that are crucial? You're sitting there teaching program. What skills are crucial for someone to understand as the building blocks of game dev? There you go. That's the question.
All right. That's an easy question. Yeah, it's fine.
Very easy.
That's okay, so if I would say the most crucial thing to understand is in terms of how things fit together to create the end result. So let's take a very, very small, simple approach. You want to create a 15-minute game. And by the way, what I'm saying, I could be completely wrong. Just, it's fine. Really, this is my opinion. Totally fine. So let's say you want to create a 15-minute game loop. That's a small area where your character will run around, I don't know, do some stuff, pick up some items, and, do very, very small things. And the whole game loop would be just a couple of minutes and you're good to go. So in order to go into that, you need to understand that there is first of all, let's assume that you're using Unreal Engine because this is where my experience comes from. So I'm just gonna go with that. So you can get away with absolutely no to very little programming. You can do pretty
Yeah.
much everything
Blueprints.
with blueprints,
Yeah.
and you can get, as long as you understand the fundamentals of how things work, how to create, a proper flow of events, then you should be good to go. At least, you'll learn as you go, but
Yeah.
it's not difficult to do.
Logical thinking
Yeah,
is what
logical
we,
thinking.
yeah. If this
Yeah.
happens, then what happens next? And
Yeah.
then if you
So
want this to be your end result, what steps do you need to take to get here? Logical
yeah.
thinking. Yeah.
So problem solving, that's mainly. Second, after that, you need to understand how to fit in something like animations, and then something like the HUD screen, or the, heads up display, and how to create the little things that happen in the environment. Either it's how to deal with assets, how to deal with a little bit of performance. There's so many things along the way that you cannot get away without at least understanding the basics of them.
Yes.
I would say you can, and this was even my plan in the beginning, I would outsource everything that has to do with sound, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing I'm most horrible at. So I would never even attempt. No, there's no way on earth. So I would just go outsource everything that has to do with sound, and that was okay in my book. I know I said no outsourcing,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. Sometimes.
but sometimes if you're creating a very small game, go for it. If you're outsourcing something like the entire sound design, if it's not your field, that's totally
Yeah.
fine. But don't outsource, for example, the whole animation end.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
more difficult to do and more difficult to plug in if you didn't do it yourself. Plus, I would use maybe a couple of things of Mixamo or anything online just to get things started. So I'm just creating a very small game. So the most important skill, just to answer your question, is understanding how things fit together. There is no specific highlight that you would say, I have to know animation, but I don't have to understand blueprints. No, you do. And you do have to understand animation. You don't have to do them all from scratch, but you have to understand them. You have to
Yeah.
understand lighting. You have to understand these things. So understanding the different concepts and how they fit together and problem solving, those are perhaps the most important things, or a most important skill that you can have
Yeah.
to get something off the ground.
Yeah. The analogy I used to use in teaching game dev was there's two of them actually. I'll give you one first of all. It was Lego bricks.
Yeah.
You don't have to know what you're going to create yet, but you gotta know how the blocks go on top of each other. And
Yes. Perfect.
it's the same idea. Like you said, you don't have to be the best sound technician or the best animator, but you have to know the basics of how they interact with different systems. And another one I like to use, and I think I made this here up myself. So 2023, Jamie McClenaghan. It's the game dev is like a jigsaw in which every single piece can fit together, but you have to understand and decide how they fit together.
You also have to see the full picture. That's
Yeah,
very important.
yeah,
So even in your head, when let's say you're creating a very quick cutscene and you want to just create something that will move, I don't know, with a sequencer, you just want to have the shot go from A to B. You have to kind of understand it in your head and how to create it and what you want the end result to look like. And then from there, you build up the scene. So, but that's the main concept, understanding, like you said, how the Lego bricks will fit together. And then you will build on these skills. Every single thing when you're trying to do it, you will be like, okay, how do I do that? And then look it up and learn it and then do it and then fail, probably. That's fine. Do it again, again, until you got exactly the exact jump animation that you're looking for, the exact run animation that you're looking for. Brilliant. Move on. Do the next thing. Do the 15-minute loop game jam style thing first from A to Z. Include
yeah.
everything in it. And from there, assess where you stand and then think of the bigger picture. You're going to take it to the next level, or what are you going to do? Build a team around you and
It's
so
like your
on.
software. Start with version 1.
Yeah.
Eventually, there'll be a version 9, but not right now. It's a version 1.
Let's hope 7 is enough for now. And it's just, it's been too many years, so I'm good with 7. Let's keep it at that.
Okay. If you get to version 8, folks, your game sucks. Put it in the bin. Version 7 is where it stops. I think they're actually releasing Thor, or not Thor, God of War version 7 next year. Okay. Well, that's us. Nasr, thank you very, very much for coming on.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, folks, for tuning in. And hopefully that you learned a little bit of something. If not, maybe just have us on as background noise whenever you're in the car or washing the dishes. But I think the main focus, as always, is reach out and get in touch. The network of game dev in the UAE is smaller than other countries, but it's still in its
Infancy.
infancy. Okay,
And it's growing.
that's
It's
growing.
growing. Yeah.
But the thing is that you guys watching this and listening to this, you are the ones that are growing it. But let's reach out, let's get involved, and hopefully we can grow this here industry together.
Yep.
Do you have any final words, Nasser? Or any goodbye speech?
Not really, but I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for the opportunity. You took the initiative to create this, the podcast and the group that we're in. And I hope that this group grows to be thousands of people. I'm always around. And when I do launch the product with my friends and partners, please be a part of it. Be a part of everybody who's listening, be a part of it in any way you want. We will do some I will do some free full courses because we want people to take the next steps into that. And the more we build, the more everybody will build as well. So, good luck, really.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, guys and girls. Sorry, guys and girls. And I will see you next time on the third episode, and we'll see who else we have on. But I think we'll definitely have you back at some time, Nasser, to go through how to create an MVP, because
happy to do it.
That's a big thing. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.